I was not a fan of the Bigscreen Beyond. I ended up returning it. I felt alone in my frustration, but it turns out the actual customer impressions of the headset are not as universally glowing as the reviews. There are others like me who have experienced my issues, and I feel it's important to document and share them to better inform people. So let me tell you about my experience. I'm not going to delve into why this headset is a big deal. I'm going into this video assuming you already know about it. If you don't, please watch a video like this one by Thrill Seeker, which covers not only that, but is also overly positive, much like the other reviews by major channels. I am coming from a Valve Index as my daily driver. I've tried many headsets, and it's the only one I enjoy for my use case, despite all its problems and the fact that I can only recommend Quest headsets to most people. So first, the biggest inconvenience of my experience. The first Bigscreen Beyond that shipped to me was the incorrect IPD. This meant I could only have one eye in the sweet spot. More on that later. Since the Beyond's IPD is not adjustable, I had to return it for one that was the correct IPD, which was actually slightly lower than what I had used on other headsets. This process was a hassle, and apparently, I'm not the only customer who experienced this. Before I get into the flaws of the headset, some positives. The mic is really good, the best I've used on a headset. In fact, this video was recorded on my Bigscreen Beyond. Hey, I want to say that the audio quality of this video gets worse over time, probably because I didn't position myself well enough relative to the headset and its mic. Part of the reason I recorded the video with this mic was because Thrill Seeker did that with his video, and said it seemed silly for him to have a studio microphone, which I thought was hyperbolic, and I wanted to try it out for myself. I can't wear the thing while I'm recording voiceover because it peaks in Adobe Audition, and also I can't see my script unless I were to turn on the screens and the tracking, which would then require me to turn on the base stations and include the whirring sound of those. Anyway, I'm not going to re-record the audio because I know that not many people are going to watch this video, and I won't have this headset for much longer. I'm glad Bigscreen didn't skimp out on microphone here like so many other headsets do. Like, how hard is it to put a decent mic in there? If the Index and Beyond can do it, then every headset can. There's no excuse. The colors are very vibrant, and there are especially deep blacks. But this is ruined by the awful glare of the headset and the color inaccuracy around the edges, plus the chromatic aberration at the edges as well. The glare is so bad that it makes the headset a poor option for doing one of the things it was advertised to be the best at doing: watching movies. Viewing media on the Beyond was a bad experience because of the terrible glare, lack of edge-to-edge clarity, and inconsistent color values across the lenses. Looking at a blank white environment in the Beyond, it seems like the color of white shifts to a redder or greener hue across my field of vision. And finally, the Bigscreen Beyond's resolution is incredible. I've never owned a 4K display before, so seeing this kind of clarity, not just in VR, but in displays in general, is incredible. The textures pop so much more, and I can make out objects in the distance in a way I couldn't before. Everything's so crisp, as long as it's in the incredibly narrow sweet spot. That is one of my biggest gripes with the headset. Anything off-center is very blurry. The reason the sweet spot is so small is because the lenses are so small. The Quest 3 has the same type of lens, pancake lenses, and they are far superior to the Bigscreen Beyonds in my opinion. Not only are the lenses much bigger, but the optics stack, or how exactly lenses are made, is just superior to the Beyond's lenses. Both the size and manufacturing process means the Quest 3 lenses have so much less glare compared to any other headset I've used. It's a shame to me that the Beyond can't come close to that edge-to-edge clarity despite using the same lens type. Other reviews mention this flaw of the headset, but it's so brief and gets buried under all the other praise. For me, it's basically a deal breaker because it means I can't move my eyes around when using the headset and instead have to look forward all the time. The fixed IPD was one of my largest gripes when buying the headset, as it makes the device impossible to share, to show to others, and to resell if one chooses to do so. While I know the reason stated was because of the reduction in weight and bulk, I don't feel the compromise was worth it. Speaking of, I also find the headset to be uncomfortable. I was surprised by this, as the small weight and form factor were two of my biggest reasons for buying the headset, and I thought it would be comfortable, as many reviewers have said. To get that sweet spot aligned, at least with one eye in the first headset, and to have as minimal blur as possible, I have to have the strap on so tight and the headset so close to my face that I feel the small weight and size of the headset is negated comfort-wise. The head strap is uncomfortable for me and puts too much pressure on and between my eyebrows. I have adjusted the back strap and top straps and only got a marginal improvement. I am glad that a top strap was included, because the headset is even less comfortable and stable on my head without it. I know that some early testers, such as Thrillseeker and sadly it's Bradley, pushed for this to be included, and again, I'm glad it was. This headset has made me realize that what I value in headset comfort is not just the weight and bulk, but mostly how said weight and bulk is distributed. The Valve Index weighs more than all the Quest headsets, but it's more comfortable than all of them because the strap distributes the weight across the entire head, not putting excess pressure or weight on the face. I can easily spend hours in that headset, while I can't say the same for the Quest headsets with their default straps, nor for the Bigscreen Beyond. With the latter headsets, they start to feel uncomfortable for me before the 30-minute mark. The Index's head strap felt like it was intentionally designed with a unit, while in contrast, the head straps of the Quest headsets and the Bigscreen Beyond feel like an afterthought. The Quest head straps are easier to accept because Meta clearly chose that as a cost-cutting measure for mainstream headsets likely selling at a loss. It's harder to accept such a compromise on a $1,000 enthusiast headset like the Bigscreen Beyond, which does not offer a plethora of aftermarket straps like the Quest headsets do. I found the cushion to be uncomfortable. It's clearly terrible for active games like Beat Saber, and it doesn't absorb any sweat. It puts too much pressure on my face, primarily on the bridge of my nose and on and between my eyebrows. I got a replacement cushion to address this comfort issue and to put my eyes closer to the lenses for less glare, but both issues still persisted. It's nice that there's no light leaking from the headset because of the custom face cushion, but I believe this should have been an optional accessory and not required to use the headset. It gets dirty obscenely quickly and easily. I personally find the nose gap in most headsets useful for grabbing things and not immersion breaking. In addition, I feel that having a wider FOV is much more important for immersion than zero light leaking. I tried out the Quest 3 multiple times, and I much prefer the pancake lenses in that headset because they are larger. This means that the Quest 3 can provide not only a higher FOV, but also significantly less glare. In my testing, it was barely even an issue. Again, I believe that the focus on small design of the headset compromised other aspects that I feel are more important to immersive VR experience. With the replacement, I can now focus on objects with both my eyes in the sweet spot at the same time. However, the peripheral vision is blurred even more than it was before, and I really wish there was better edge-to-edge clarity. The glare is still pretty bad in my opinion. Going back to the Valve Index after using the Bigscreen Beyond, I noticed the screen door effect more than I ever have. I think that higher resolutions and the elimination of the perceived screen door effect are obviously going to be a big innovation for newer headsets like the Beyond. However, I would like to see more effort industry-wide to compensate for these higher resolutions, such as foveated rendering and temporal upscaling, or else acceptable frame rates in VR titles are only going to be enjoyed by a relative few with enough money to afford the most powerful PC hardware. I have also tried a lower internal resolution with 2x MSAA for some games, which works best with more cel-shaded art styles. It eliminates aliasing by upsampling at geometric edges at the cost of less detail elsewhere, with the lower resolution. I have the tools FPS VR and XS Overlay, which show me my GPU and CPU frame times on my left hand. In my experience with Beyond, the GPU has always been the bottleneck, even in places where the CPU was for other headsets. Because of the glare at the edges, fixed foveated rendering seems very appropriate for this headset. I wish the Beyond utility had a link to the GUI fork of OpenVR FSR that adds fixed foveated rendering and or FSR1 into Unity and Unreal games. The clip on the back holding the cable in place is awful and keeps moving, and I keep having to recenter it. The teeth of the clip also dig into the cable, leaving permanent indents. The fan on my replacement unit makes an annoying buzzing sound at all speeds, and is way more annoying than the fan on the initial unit. In spite of all the fan noise, the device still gets uncomfortably hot at high speed and low brightness. The lack of built-in eye tracking is a disappointment for a headset released in 2023. This headset could have really heavily benefited from foveated rendering. I'm also getting jealous seeing all these people in VR chat starting to use face tracking on Quest Pros now. I think it's the next important technological step for social VR after full body tracking, and I hope it becomes a standard on headsets going forward. I finally got the dust out of the screens in my Index headset, which is one of the reasons I wanted a new headset, so I could use that in case I broke my Index during repair. Going back to the Index after using the Beyond felt really nice to me. I miss the colors and higher resolution of the Beyond, but the Index is so much more comfortable and the glare isn't nearly as bad or distracting as the Beyond's. Sure, I could no longer read the fine print far away, and I had to increase the size of the nameplates in VR chat back to their default, but the overall experience of the headset was just so much better. I can also change the refresh rate without having to restart Steam VR, and both that and the brightness options are integrated into Steam VR and not a separate bare-bones driver utility. I'd like to thank Bigscreen's support team. They were very kind and helpful in trying to solve my problems, getting me a replacement unit and cushion, and with my return. Since they had support cases backed up since November, when I initially contacted them at the end of December, they put their 14-day return policy on hold for me. I really appreciate the support team for recognizing their own shortcomings and being flexible with their policies to accommodate for them. Having a good support team is vital, especially for first-generation hardware, even more so for a unit which is customized to each individual user. Again, I think the support team did a really good job here, and I think they should be applauded for that. I really wanted to love this headset, as I was excited for it since it was announced. However, despite some positives, I'm severely disappointed in my experience with my unit. I wanted to give it a fair chance, but it's clear to me now that I have many problems with it that lead to an overall negative experience. I still much prefer my Index in spite of all its problems. I returned my Beyond despite the 20% restocking fee. I have a rule when it comes to buying things. If I think about returning it so much, then I probably didn't think it was worth the money in the first place. In this case, I'd rather have $800 back than a headset I'd barely use in favor of my Index. Even with all the criticism I have of the Beyond, I still think the work Bigscreen is doing in developing such a radically different headset is important, and I hope they can continue to keep pushing VR hardware boundaries in the future. If not the Beyond, then what? I said before that the only headsets I can recommend are the Quest 2 and 3, maybe the Pro if you really want eye tracking. Alternatively, you could get one of the many secondhand Quests, just be careful. I said I still use the Index, but I can only recommend it to people who want the least hassle using Steam VR accessories like Vive trackers, or if you have money to burn. It's hard to recommend the full kit as it's still $1,000, nearly half a decade after release, but there are cheaper refurbished kits sold by GameStop's website, and refurbished Index parts sold there and on Tundra's website. Plus, obviously, eBay and Facebook Marketplace are options too, but buy those at your own risk. Thanks for watching. I felt it was important to share my experience with the Beyond. I should thank my patrons for my chance to experience this $200 tech demo. But seriously, thank you guys so much. Until next time.